Okay, so this is a part 2 to my history of long songs video, since I left out a lot of music that would have fit perfectly in there, and I apologise for any complaints. What I did was I read through the comments of the last video, and put all the suggestions into a list, plus a few more I thought of myself, and I will go through their influence on the long song, in chronological order. So, let's get into it. This song by Nina Simone beats out Desolation Row on being the earliest form of long song in popular music that isn't jazz, being released about 3 months before Highway 61 Revisited. Unlike Desolation Row, it has a more R&B and soul direction, which could earn Cinnamon as an early form of progressive soul. Think of what Stevie Wonder was doing. If there are any examples like Cinnamon and Desolation Row before 1965, please let me know. Krautrock is a subgenre of progressive rock that features more of a hypnotic feel due to repetitive instrumentation, which had its initial rise in Germany thanks to bands like Kraftwerk, Can, Neu, Amandel 2, Tangerine Dream, Klaus Schulze, Manuel Gosching, and many others. Sorry if I mispronounced any of those names. To say this style was influential would be an understatement, influencing artists like Portishead, David Bowie, Miles Davis, and many others. Kraftwerk's Autobahn in particular, because it basically influenced the entire music scene that involved with synths. If you hear like any song with a synth in it, it's probably been influenced by Kraftwerk in some way. From 1969 to 1972, Miles Davis released 3 albums, In a Silent Way, Bitches Brew, and On the Corner, in which, despite doubt from his contemporaries, would be massively successful and influential, and would lead to jazz fusion, one of my favourite genres of all time, which would lead to some incredible albums farther in the future. If I were to describe jazz fusion, it would be like a combination of classic jazz with progressive rock, which results in a chaotic and hypnotic sound that never fails to interest me. One of the dumbest things I have done in the last video was missing out on Mike Oldfield. He is a progressive rock legend, creating the masterpiece Tubular Bells in 1973. In fact, throughout the 70s, he made these one-song albums, with Tubular Bells being the first, along with some singles that were able to stapled onto deluxe editions of those albums. One interesting release from this period is Incantations from 1978, which is 1 hour, 12 minutes and 27 seconds. Easily beating the hour mark 27 years before Dope Smoker. He stopped releasing one-track albums in 1980 with QE2, following more typical song structures, some highlights being Taurus 2, Crisis, and The Wind Chimes Parts 1 and 2, easily proving that he still has progressive rock influences, just not on the long song. Although as a big fuck you to Virgin Records and Richard Branson, he released Amarok in 1990, which is 60 minutes and 3 seconds, and it has a very weird structure, being constantly changing, and asked for Virgin to not find a part of the song to be put into a single, unlike Tubular Bells. He then released another fuck you in the form of Heaven's Open, which was supposed to be terrible. Mike Oldfield would then release successors to Tubular Bells, with Tubular Bells 2 in 1992 and Tubular Bells 3 in 1998, which followed more of a concept sort of making. In 2017, he released the successor to Omadorn, Return to Omadorn, which had an amazing album cover and the last of his one-song albums lasting 42 minutes and 6 seconds. In fact, Return to Omadorn would have been the first in the new series of one-song epics that was swiftly cancelled when Mike Oldfield retired from music in 2023. A Tubular Bells 4 was even planned, but only a demo of the intro is available, which can be found on the 50th anniversary edition of Tubular Bells. Just an absolute legend in the long song. I recommend any of his albums. The 2000s had plenty of long songs, especially in the underground, such as May by Ekelin, Feedbacker, and Flood by Boris. Flood in particular being one of the most celebrated metal albums of all time, despite its 70-minute length. Oh, what's that? Is one hour long song not good enough? How does 4 sound? The penultimate Galactic Bordello, also The World You Made, by the Acid Mother's Temple and the Multi Paraiso UFO, is a psych rock jam album released in 2004, which contains 4-hour long songs. No, 4 1-hour long songs. You know what I mean. Which is easily the most insane thing I've seen a rock band do. A cool Rope the Beggar by Swans that could be the greatest achievement of rock history, but now it has slight doubts about that because the Acid Mother's Temple released this and also released multiple albums in 1 year, with many of their songs going over 30 minutes. That productivity doesn't exist anywhere else in music. While on extremely long pieces of music, PC3 is a band I've mentioned in the longest albums video, with standout tracks being In the Garden and The Rise and Fall of Bossa Nova, which I probably won't be able to recommend to most of you since the songs apparently have actual progression in them, but I don't have the patience or expertise to sit through all of it. I just can't. A year after that release, another stoner metal song would be released, named The Great Barrier Reefer by Bong Ripper, which was aimed to be the longest possible song on a single compact disc, which contained 80 minutes of music. The song was inspired by Dope Smoker, and I don't think it was intended for release until fans leaked it, I think, and it was entirely instrumental. A subgenre always related to metal is Funeral Doom, a sister genre to doom metal, and it's basically like doom metal but turned to 11. The most famous of which being Mirror Reaper by Bell Witch, which from skimming through it, I don't think it's for me per se, but I think it's cool all the same. Funeral Doom in general is one of those genres where short songs are rarity rather than the other way around. Another decade or two before, another subgenre of metal would emerge, drone metal, first gaining popularity with the album Earth 2 Special Low Frequency version, which really tests the patience of the listener. Later, Stephen O'Malley and Greg Anderson would be inspired from this album to form Sun, the O isn't supposed to be pronounced, which are still going till this day and releasing an album in April this year. When mentioning drone metal, or drone in general, natural snow buildings will eventually be brought up. They are known for their long compositions, which go up to almost 1 hour in length. The most famous work, Daughter of Darkness, is 7 hours long, with over half the songs being over 15 minutes. Lastly, we have post-rock, in which I completely skipped over Godspeed You Black Emperor for some reason. I did mention them, but I should have gone more in depth with them, so I will. GYBE's style of post-rock is quite unique, especially the earlier work, since they use field recordings and people speaking to get their idea forward, sacrificing vocals in the process. The music often has a apocalyptic atmosphere, but not explosive, but more melancholic, as if humans are coming to terms with the end of the world. I highly recommend them, although you would only find them on YouTube or physical media, since they pull their music from streaming. Another post-rock band I want to mention is Sprain, specifically the album, The Lamb as Effigy, or 350 XOXOXOs for Spark Union with My Darling Divine. It's long. Since it is quite similar to Swans in the 2010s, but just much more unhinged, as the frontman Alex Ken literally shredded his vocal cords when he recorded the album. If you like Swans, please check this album out. Although Sprain disbanded a month later after The Lamb as Effigy, Alex Ken was continuing under Shearling, with most of the members of Sprain being on there, with their debut album Motherfucker I Am Both Amen and Hallelujah, released in 2025, which contained one 62-minute track that was developed across Spain's live setlist. These are the two most famous versions are the studio version I just talked about, and a version on the Lamb as Effigy release show under the name New Song, which was a placeholder title for it. Other names for it being Radio, The Big Daddy, as well as Motherfucker. Track is weird. The album changes from post-rock, noise rock to experimental electronic and harsh noise wall at some points. It is not for the faint of heart, and I recommend this album if you like noise rock of any kind. Just be patient with it. Oh yeah, I forgot King is the Lizard Wizard. Forgive me, I'm really stupid. There's of course the Dripping Tap, which is what people most think of their progressive rock things. But there's also other examples like Quarters, which is an album that contains 4 songs that are 10 seconds long. Murder the Universe, which is technically 3 side-long epic split into its parts. There's Crumbling Castle, which is awesome in the orchestral live sets if you can find recordings in them. The Land Before Timeline and Hypertension, which is on their Lamented to Demon album, which is some of the greatest progressive rock I've ever heard. There's also the 9-minute songs from Petrodraconic Apocalypse, which are very, very catchy and groovy despite its length, and the extended mixes from their Silver Chord album, which was also released with a standard version, so I guess you could pick and choose what your favourite version is. Also 48 Portraits by Sloan. It's basically a dream pop suite that no one really cares about for some reason. There's also Big Train if you want more modern progressive rock, like classic modern progressive rock. Oh yeah, Transatlantic. Transatlantic is a supergroup containing many members, one of them being from Dream Theater, but I can't remember where the others are from. They are known for making incredibly long songs in classic progressive rock, which such songs being The Whirlwind, which is like 70 minutes, and their debut album, which contains like 2 30-minute songs, casually. I have heard great things about them, and I have considered to check them out a couple of times, but I can't, I love London songs, but I can't take 4 of them in a sequence. Like, I need a short song every now and then, so I don't, get burnt out of long songs, if you understand what I'm trying to get at. And that is part 2 to my long song video. I hope you have covered more ground with this video here, so it contains more artists than I think should have been included and what I wanted to put in here. That is all I have to say before I go, but I have a few announcements. First of all, thank you so much for the attention for the longest video got. It's easily my most successful video to date, and I hope my future videos have similar success. Thank you so much for watching my videos. I thought it would be impossible to get to this point, and it means a lot. Thank you. As well as this, special thanks to Ziv Esef, the J10N, Fexis _ Wenugo1, Polyphonical 2, Vonia 128 Continues, Adrian Brody 3, Bloodshed, REO Speedwagon 77, and Gold 4668 for all the suggestions for this video. And that's all I have to say. See you whenever, and goodbye.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated? Good night.